So at least every couple of weeks on this Patreon, I try to make a video that is applicable to anybody that is listening to or watching it. And this is such a video. It's quite a challenge to do that. But I think that the issue of creating pitches and sales strategies and case studies is ubiquitous to any professional, whether you're a content creator or you're a business owner. And that is what we're going to be discussing today, specifically how I have evolved in my sales strategy for creating these resources for clients to basically onboard new clients into my business, whether that be sponsors in the case of content creators, or whether it be nowadays I'm just working exclusively B2B with clients. So I want to run you through a lot of the mistakes that I've made along that process. And I'm actually going to do that in a kind of a cool way. We're actually going to look chronologically and uniquely at the visuals of the different companies that I've run, and today I think our sales strategy is just so much better. I think I'll save you hours and hours of time and hundreds of thousands of dollars that I spent trying to figure out this process to where I am today. So hopefully this will benefit everybody here. So we're going to do this in two ways. The first thing, I'm going to basically build out a template and show you exactly the elements that we include in these, and then we're going to go through visually and we're going to actually look at the differences, and I think from there you'll get a whole picture of how to build these pitches for your clients and for your sponsors. Okay, so it's important to set this up with a little bit of context. When I was running Nerd Fusion with Matt, and this was in 2019 to 2020, I'd sold CLG and I was starting a talent agency basically from the ground up. It felt like a struggle to sell anything. This is a similar feeling that I had at CLG, where it always felt like I was pitching somebody on something they didn't really want to buy. And contrast that to today, where I feel like sales is the easiest thing. It's so incredibly easy. I just can't believe I didn't do it this way before. That is the strategy I'm going to teach you, and how we evolved into that kind of business where I have more clients and I know what to do with it. I don't really look for sales in any sort of way, and I think it's deliberately from the lessons that I've learned as a result of this journey. So let's do the boring stuff first, kind of. Let's build out what are the basic elements of a pitch / case study. So your objective here, right? Let's just be really clear on what this video is doing. We are building a resource to try to convince somebody to buy from us, right? So we are trying to either sell them a product or a service. If we're a content creator, we're trying to sell them an opportunity to sponsor us, an opportunity to give us money in exchange for something. All these elements apply to this. That's what we're doing here, okay? And the very first thing is something that is not going to surprise you if you are a regular Devin Nash listener, and that is the element of storytelling, which is going to overarch all of this. So each individual case study or pitch should focus on one story, and it should be relatable, and it should be a story of how your product or service solved a problem. The end. And each line should be 2 to 3 sentences leading into the next point. So storytelling is going to be the overarching theme of everything we do, and we're only going to tell one story per case study, and we're going to tell one story per pitch, one story per deck. But it's going to be our story. Ideally, it is a story of how you solved a problem, and we're going to get into what that means right now. So keep in mind the storytelling for the overarching basic elements of the pitch. A clear executive summary is going to be the first part of it. This is basically number one, who are you and what problem do you solve? Number two, what process do you use to solve that? Number three, what makes you different? And number four, keep in mind, they don't care about you. They care about themselves. So this is your most limited section. Most people, when they do sales, this is their biggest section, is all about them, all about their company, all about all the problems they solve, or just what they're doing at their company, their team. You'll see a lot of people that have team slides, things like that. I can't wait to go through all this stuff visually with you in this video, because you will see all the mistakes that I made along those lines. It's just, I just made endless mistakes because I copied every deck on the internet and thought that these were the right ways to do things. I never do team slides anymore. I know people don't really care, or I'll put it in a tiny corner somewhere. Who are you? What problem do you solve? Quite simply, in as short as possible, ideally just a couple of sentences. We're a brand agency. We solve the problem of getting you the most awesome advertisements possible and we actually get real impressions and real conversions for you, other than just bullshit impressions that you see all over social media, right? Like, we're really simple. Okay, what process do we use to solve that? We have unique targeting for influencers where we can get people who actually love your products and that nobody else can find, right? We're not a talent agency. We don't just go out to a bunch of creators that we sponsor, and whether they're going to work for your product or not, we literally just go to the best people and connect them. Okay, that's what makes us different too. Is we're not a talent agency. We work for the brand, meaning we care about you first, right? So that's my pitch. I could just explain it in like 2 sentences, 3 sentences, whatever. You should be able to explain the problem you solve as a business in that amount of time. And you might say, well, I'm a creator. I'm a content creator. I make YouTube videos. Like, what problem do I solve? Well, you might be doing entertainment better in your category than anybody else. You might be providing informative content better than anybody else. You need to figure that out just as much as any business needs to figure out what product or service their problem is addressing. So you don't get away with just like leaving this executive summary out as a content creator. You still need to define what makes you different, what problem you solve specifically. And that problem could be, hey, I'm a positivity person. Come to my broadcast, come to my YouTube channel, and you get the feel-good stuff. Brand friendly, always, we're on board, right? That's like CoCarnage's unique solution on Twitch, right? You could be just the really funny guy. There's tons of ways different go about that, but you got to think about that. So clear executive summary is the first thing you're going to put in. Next thing you're going to put in is objective, measurable success. And that means a case study or pitch should always have metrics like percentage increase in sales, clients acquired, results. But you might not have these because you might be building this case study and your product and service hasn't demonstrated that kind of stuff. In that case, you can do 2 things. You can do testimonials, which is like, if you have a product or service, just offer it for free to some percentage of people. You'll see this on like Steam games all the time, or Amazon stuff. Like, I got paid to do this review. Counts the same. People don't really regard it as any different. Testimonials is a good way to get around if you don't actually have results. And number 2 is you can just do kind of like more vague metrics like impressions or things like that. So for like content creators, they're like, well, I've never been sponsored or anything like that. I mean, you certainly have a number of views that you're generating. You have positive commentary. So you could say something like, I have over a 90% like ratio on all of my videos or something like that. You can find something that is like more vague, but you should be as objective as possible. Ideally, specific and quantifiable results. Another one here, a third one that's actually really helpful, is before and after. So even if you don't have any kind of like objective metrics yet, you could say like, we worked with this particular person for free, or this person got our product, and before they were like this, and after they were like this. And there are entire industries that define from this marketing strategy. For example, fitness, where how many before and after pictures have you seen of some diet or some kind of like book or result? Like, every testimonial is, here was somebody that was 250, 300 pounds. They did this technique. They did the 30-day slow carb diet or Atkins or whatever, and now they are amazing, right? That's the before and after marketing. So you can always use that if you don't have any like objective metrics. Specific and quantifiable. And then another fun one is unexpected results, which I like to include, which are like, oh, like this kind of stuff really resulted in like something like so like, for example, like, let's use the fitness example. I did lose 100 pounds doing this, but I am really surprised by how mentally clear I am now, and my cognition got so much better. I'm so much better at like teaching my kids math. Like, you can always offer those like unexpected results if you don't have the metrics to kind of back it up. And then the third and last component is going to be a strong call to action, which means make sure the customer understands the next step in the funnel, which could be how to contact you, get on a call, get on an email list, buy the product, like actually click this, right? It's actually insane how many case studies don't have this, and they just don't tell the customer what to do next. You always want to be in a sort of leading relationship with your clients. So your client is not going to necessarily buy just because you convince them. I mean, that sounds like crazy, but really think about that. Just because you convince them, they may be totally sold on your product, but like they, for whatever reason, might have some kind of barrier to spending. They just may not be committed enough to actually pull the trigger. You have to tell them what to do. So if the next step in your funnel is go to this website right now, click buy now, like you say that. You actually say that. Don't leave it to interpretation. It's a huge mistake that most people do in their pitch and case study building. And also, it's like a lot of content creators do this too, where it's like, hey guys, like if you really like the stream, like you should subscribe. Like to me, that is not good enough. If you go look at like my calls to action, look at like my Patreon call to action, right? Which is like, listen up, for $5, you go to www.patreon.com/Devin Nash and sign up. There are over 90 videos there teaching business and marketing, and you can learn right away. If you sign up there on Patreon, go support that, right? Like that is telling somebody directly where to go, directly what to do, and directly how to convert. Likewise, like if I'm on Twitch or I'm on like a live broadcast, I'm not going to say something like, hey, everybody, like, thanks for being here. Consider following the stream. I'm going to say, go down to the bottom right and click follow right now. And for the next 50, if we get 50 to 100 followers, I'm going to do this, right? Like that kind of thing is like a very strong call to action. So keep those objectives in mind. All right. So now I want to show, we're going to go into the second section of this, and this is all just going to be kind of talking through some stuff and like visuals. I think this is going to be one of the coolest parts of this video. And I'm pretty excited to do this because I want to show some of the stuff that we did beforehand. So I'll open up this one first, and you'll see that this is a product case. This is a case study from CounterLogic Gaming, former company that I ran. And you'll see that the first part of it is this storytelling aspect. So at CLG, we were really going for this idea that all of us were kind of a family. And you know, we have the kind of photo shoot like style pictures of that, of everybody kind of getting together. We have the letter with like the signed authenticity, and this did really well. But it's going to be so crazy when I show you just like the kind of sales that I do now compared to this, because this is a very like graphical. So we did like a Reddit AMA, and we go through the clicks that went to the page. Again, very objective specific. And I'm going to say something really important here for everybody listening. This is a really complex case study. Make sure you stay through the entire video, because I think that you are going to quickly become overwhelmed. Like, well, it's great if you have like a graphics team. Windows has been doing this, sorry. It's great if you have like a graphics team, or you have like all these people to design this, but I don't have that. I'm going to give you some tools at the end here that's going to easily be able to make you do these. Like, don't overthink your presentation, and you just stay till the end of the video, because when you see what I sell now, you'll be like, oh my God, I can't, like, this is so extreme. I never do graphics like this anymore. But this is a really, really great example of a case study where you can see like I've got like average impressions per tweet, I've got click-throughs, I've got actual engagement, I've got some description of like what we specifically did. So I'm basically following this rubric exactly, right, that I showed you in the notepad. Number one, I'm doing the storytelling. The storytelling is like the family aspect of it. I have a clear executive summary of who we are. And then I have objective, measurable success over and over and over again. Okay, so this is like case study number one. And again, this is like so far from what I actually do now. Okay, so if we go and look at some, like, I'll show you this too. So this is just like a one-pager you can get done on like Fiverr of in 2016 what our social media growth was. And again, like, I just can't believe that my sales strategy was like this. Like, this is like insane to me. There's so much information on this page that I don't know as a client how I would interact with it. But that's like the evolution of marketing. Like, what I'm doing here is I want you to remember these case studies, because I'm going to be showing you what we do at Novo now and the difference of it. And you're going to be like, okay, I hopefully you get like the thing I'm trying to teach here. So let's go over to Novo, early Novo, when I'm transitioning from a TA to a brand agency, and like what are the kind of stuff we did. So here's a case study for Extra Life, which is a charity event that we run every year out of Novo. I don't usually like to talk about the kind of stuff we do. I'm just doing it in the context of this video, because this is a case study. You can see that it's like much more simple, much more driven towards text, but still has some of the aspects of the case studies that we did before. But again, you have objective metrics, how much money we raised, donations, and who we are and what we do for that charity. But you also see that it's much more focused on them. We basically don't talk about Novo at all. We talk about the Children's Miracle Network immediately. Okay. Likewise, I'll show you this case study, which is a template that we ran. Again, just got this done on Fiverr. I think it cost us like $180 or something. And this was early Novo. You'll see this was a pitch to Atlas VPN. So again, following that rubric of this is your influencer marketing solution. I actually still think this is a pretty good deck or pitch. Basically, this is exactly what we do. We're an end-to-end creative agency that builds custom campaigns for Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and other media. Here are the two. So this is the only section of this entire deck that I have dedicated to our team. And the only reason I put this in here is because I think it adds a lot of context for brands that we are actually influencers ourselves on these platforms. Thus, I thought it was pretty important to put that in there. And indeed, a lot of brands have commented on that. As such, I have a sales point here of the only agency built by top 1% creators. Then we have just a very simple how it works. So remember, when I describe, you'll see this follows the rubric exactly. Describe who you are, what problem you solve. So we're an influencer marketing solution. We're solving influencer marketing for people. How does the process work? So that's the second section right here. Here you go. Our domain experts interview you. We figure out what you need to do and what budget you need. We analyze the project. We execute. Bam. Case studies and results. Here are some of the case studies that we run. Why advertise here? Here's some of the studies that we actually show. Bam, done. Contact us right here. It's worth noting, you might say, well, that's not like a very strong call to action. This is always sent in an email cadence where we already know how we're going to follow up with the brand, so we don't have a very strong call to action here. It just reminds people, in case, the reason why this is here is in case this deck somehow gets sent to a friend or gets sent somewhere, they know how to contact us, and then we get them into the funnel. But they're already into the funnel at this process, and we don't really care. So now I'm going to show you what we actually just do to sell at this point. And I think this will surprise you if this is the right document. Yeah, so here's our current service proposal. This is like if I'm going to sell to somebody, this is what I send them today. Okay, so we have a who we are. We have a what we do. So again, it follows the rubric. Who we are is we're a top creator, influencer, blah, blah, blah. And then we literally just put the company. We say the campaign we're running. Here's the primary goal of the campaign. Now we base this off of like our communication with them. So they might say, yeah, I really want impressions. I just want a lot of exposure for my video game, or I want a lot of exposure for my product. Or they might say, hey, I'm just like a ROAS-based person. I really want a high conversion on my product. Great. We'll put that in the primary, and we'll have some secondary KPIs like maybe around brand enforcement or whatever. Okay. And then I have the budget and timeline. So here's how much it actually costs. And here's what's going to happen. It's going to be a full end-to-end execution. And then there's going to be an NCTA of exactly what you do to buy, which will be like our next follow-up call or whatever. Okay. So the dramatic difference in the way that I sell and do pitches and case studies now, I don't like really send, like you're going to have a lot of people, like this flies in the face of like everybody that does sales. Like people that have done a lot of sales will be like, what the hell is this? Like what is this? Like this is like literally like a document. I literally just send them the thing they're going to buy. And all my sales strategy nowadays is that too. So if I get on the phone with somebody now, all I'm really trying to do is qualify if I can solve their problem. If I can't solve their problem, I just tell them no. And I just like, I literally interview them, right? So all of my sales process in the past has been like convincing people why they should buy this thing. And now I never do that. Like I assume if you are on the phone with me that there's two possibilities. Either you are an unqualified client, in which case I will just try to help you and say our services are not for you. Either you don't meet our minimums, or we just can't solve the problem you have, or you don't need influencer marketing. In which case, like, okay, no problem. And that would be equivalent, like imagine yourself as like a content creator and you're like, well, you're not the sponsor for me, right? Like this is just not something that I really am interested in or that I really want to advertise. Or they are a qualified client. Okay, if you're a qualified client, then great. I'm just going to tell you how we're going to do it. Like everything else is implicit in it. You can ask questions, but I have already assumed the sale. That's the difference now. I already know I can solve your problem. If you're a qualified client for Novo and we want to work with you, then I can solve your problem and I can do it better than anybody. Otherwise, why would I be doing this product, right? Like, why would I have built this company or this product or this service? Why would you have built this thing if you don't believe in this part of the process? Like who you are, what problem do you solve, what process do you use, and what makes you different? So I believe we solve the problem of influencer marketing pretty much better than almost anybody. There are other people that solve it, but they don't solve it in the way that we solve it. a combination of technological and experiential expertise that I don't think is matched in the industry. And we deliberately built our product, and we spent a whole year building our product to do that, right? So from there, what am I trying to sell? Like a person is basically, all I'm trying to determine is, do you have the problem? So if you come at sales from that perspective, I no longer send decks. I no longer send case studies. I no longer send testimonials. In the event that a person doesn't believe that I can do my service, why am I on the phone with them in the first place, right? So that is a drastically different mentality than I've had. And I can tell you, like, sales fly off the shelves, and our clients are appropriately very pleased with what we do. So the way that you can apply this is, when you build out your offer, the first thing you need to do, and you need to understand, is you need to orient yourself towards what your product and service is more than anything else. You need to spend more time on that than you ever spend on anything else, on testimonials, on sales, on everything. You have to completely understand that. You have to completely understand the problem or problems you're solving for a specific clientele. And you have to understand that you are not solving all problems, right? So for example, if a person comes to Novo, if a client comes to Novo and they want a exclusively ROAS-based return, where like all they want is product conversions, there are a lot of instances where I don't take those deals because I don't think I can solve that problem. Like, there are plenty of other businesses like affiliate marketing or pay-per-click that might be better for them. Fine, right? Like, do not seek to try to solve every single problem, because you don't need to be like $1 trillion company. You don't need to like try to solve it or to have the staff for it, or like you'll just spread yourself so thin you'll be a thin wet noodle. You'll spaghettify, right? Versus like understanding the core problem that you're trying to sell and then selling it, you just stay in your lane the whole time. And I think more and more of my life has been about this specificity, where I was talking a little bit about this in like in the mastermind section on last week's mastermind, where I was just saying, like, a lot of people think that I'm a really intelligent person, but actually I just really focus on like two things, which is like, I really focus on like personal health and medicine and personal improvement, like that, so fitness and health and that whole like aspect of things. And then I really focus on marketing and business development, specifically business development in terms of marketing. And then that's it. Like there's all kinds of stuff about like engineering and science and politics and a million billion different things that I don't know. I just don't understand. But because I stay in my lane on these things, I sound really smart when I'm talking about these things, because it's all I do. I read books about it. I think about it. Likewise, when I'm in my product and I'm in my circle, right? Like, I am the expert at solving the problem that we're on the phone about. So I'm going to come off as completely confident because I'm right. That's all I spend my time doing. And that confidence, I think, gets portrayed to the clients, and that I really believe at my core that I can solve these problems. And then every time I do something for a client, it reinforces that belief, right? When we're successful, which is almost all the time. So my mindset on this has changed, and I hope I've properly communicated. I hope I'm properly transferring that mindset over to you, that the traditional idea of sales and product pitches is like trying to convince a person first, like, that they have a problem, educating them that and this is like where we were when we were trying to sell, like, okay, first, like, did you know you even have a problem? Like, you have to do marketing, right? Like, so if you have to do marketing, here are all the different types of marketing. If you're going to do any kind of marketing, well, here's why influencer marketing is like better than other ones. And then if you're going to do that, well, here's why you should work with us. Oh my God, it's like so much education. Whereas, like, I already presume that you're on the phone with me now today because you understand that you have a problem. And I'll just ask you directly what those problems are. I'll just say, like, what are you running into? What are the situations? What do you want to accomplish? And then it's the only question becomes, do we do that or not, right? Do we accomplish that goal or not? What do you want to do? Well, I really want to get in front of a lot of people. Okay, I can help you with that. Yeah, that's what we do, right? So most people think that they need to spend a lot of time trying to think about their customer, but I don't think about my customer at all. I don't really care what my customer, what my customer demographic is. I just care about the problem that I'm trying to solve and that my customer has that problem. So that's not to say that I don't take the time to really understand my customer. after my customer is qualified, we take an enormous amount of time. Usually we build like a 60 to 80 page strategy just for that customer individually, not templated, like straight up for that customer, just to try to solve this problem. And we're doing that on a really high minimum because people are spending a minimum of $50,000 to $100,000 with us. So we're really on the point with that. But I don't really like think outside of that about like what my customers might do or like what their products or services is. I just think about our product and our service and what problems it solves. So if you start from that position, I want to talk to some content creators here because maybe that you could make that you could make this jump. The difference between like a 5,000 CCU Twitch streamer that is just kind of running a variety game stream, or you're just streaming one game, whatever you're doing, and a person that has that same viewership but has a theme, and the community and you really understand what that theme is. Like, we are bar none like the custom Fortnite game makers. We do this better than anybody. Or we run more community run tournaments. We do more giveaways. Like, you have to figure out what problem that is that you solve. We build better community. That was always like the one I came in from, right? Was like, I really want our community to be professional. I want the chat to be a place where you can go, when I was live streaming, where you can go and you can like get something of value. You'll see that those values are also conveyed in like places like my Discord, where like, I want the discourse on my Discord to be pretty good. I want it to be pretty high level. So like a person goes there and reads it, they get something out of it. That's a unique offering of that Discord that I think that a lot of Discords don't have, right? So you have to think about through that with your product or your service offering. And maybe you're doing a service like you're doing window cleaning for somebody or something as simple as that, right? Maybe your extra thing is you leave like a couple of chocolates there with a thank you card on every client, right? That's like something that differentiates you immediately. There are tons of ways to do this. If you're in retail and you're looking for ways to do this, you're in like ground brick and mortar, you should read a book called How to Get Everything You Can Out of All You Got by Jay Abram, which has like a million of these ideas of how to like do little upsells on top of running a hardware store or running a pet store or something. A million different ways you can differentiate immediately that get like people out of their head and they're like, wow, that's something that's like really unique. So once you define that, then you really can just sell it. Like, you just issue it with confidence. And some of the case studies that I provided here can give you some ideas, but like what I'll leave you with is just like, if you just look at this is a Google Doc. I mean, the biggest change I have here is that this font is 26 size font. I just don't care about presentation. I'm going to tell you exactly what I do. And I also do some crazy stuff. Like, I literally just tell you the budget. Here's the price, right? Like, this is what it costs. I expect you to pay it. Here's what you get for it. Very simple, right? Non-negotiable. This is just like, and here's exactly what the next steps are. And this has changed my entire business from feeling like I'm crawling for clients and I'm just desperate to I have more sales I know what to do with. So sell with absolute confidence, understand your product and service, and don't think too much about the presentation. It's great. I mean, like, yeah, you can go on Fiverr, spend $200, but those decks, I really look back at like all the deals that I've signed over the course of the last, I don't know, 5-10 years. I can't tell you if ever, like, it was like a graphic deck that I made that like really pushed somebody over the edge and said, I'm going to buy with these guys. I think rather it was it was like me not knowing when I really had a product brand fit. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of people struggle with like sponsorships is because they're just another influencer or company in a sea of companies that do the same product or service that they do. If you're going to compare, even in the top 1%, if you compare yourself to every 1,000 to 10,000 CCV live streamer or 100,000 to 200,000 subscriber YouTube channel or 1 million subscriber YouTube channel, there's thousands of channels like that. You know, like, we run across them every day. It's not enough. You have to differentiate yourself in some like really meaningful way and tell people about that differentiation and why it matters to them in the perspective of their company. Okay? So I hope this helps out and gives everybody some really cool stuff to think about. And I hope you use this stuff to build your own sales resources for your businesses and succeed. Thanks. Bye.